July 21st, 2019, Splatoon 2's unofficial death day. If you were unaware, the Splatoon development team is also the same team that makes Animal Crossing, and with that still in development, they needed to bring everyone over to work on Animal Crossing as it had already been delayed. But bringing everyone to Animal Crossing meant that Splatoon 2 would no longer receive content updates or Splatfests. But was this a good idea? Very short answer is no, it was a terrible idea, and I'm sure Nintendo understands this now. Splatoon 2 never stopped growing. In Q1 of 2019 of Nintendo's financial year, Splatoon 2 sold over 9.2 million units, which, fun fact, is more than any game on the Xbox One has ever sold. As of December 31st, 2020, Splatoon 2 has sold 11.90 million units. That's 2.8 million units in like a year. For reference, Halo 5 Guardians has sold 4.92 million units over its 5-year existence. Splatoon 2 has sold over half of that in 1 year. No shade towards Halo 5, I used to make Halo videos back in the day. Anyway, cutting Splatoon 2 updates after just 2 years in the Switch at first might have seemed like a good idea, seeing as how Splatoon 1 only sold about 4.95 million units, but these ain't the Wii U days no more. Nintendo is rolling in cash now, and over double Splatoon sales. So over double the audience has now been cut off of new content. Now let me ask you a question. If you had a game that sold 11.90 million units, wouldn't you keep the game going? I've got some ideas as to why Nintendo cut Splatoon 2 short. Actually, I've got an idea. Nintendo keeps to really strict policies, no matter how stupid they are. Nogami and his team had already convinced Nintendo to allow them to add content for another year than they had originally planned, with us getting the last content update in June 2019, and it paid off pretty well for Nintendo. It certainly helped keep Splatoon 2 growing. So what does any of this have to do with Splatoon 2 today? Well, I believe that we are a lot closer than you may think to update 6.0.0. Here's why. Well, for one, the situation has happened before. We just talked about how Nogami had gotten another year of content updates for the game, and considering it's still selling today, making more updates is a lot easier than making more Splatoon DLC or another Splatoon. And hype of new weapons and specials after a long leave of absence could cause some major hype around the game. However, that's not to say Splatoon 2 DLC is out of the picture. With the Switch being halfway through its lifespan, Nintendo is starting to double up on games, as seen with Breath of the Wild 2 coming soon. And seeing how well Octo Expansion did in Nintendo's statement for a few years ago, they wanted to keep older games going, so who's to say Splatoon 2 couldn't get another DLC? Though just to say, I really think that some new content should really bring in some new maps, because I'm really getting bored of playing on the same stages. But with Nintendo doubling up on games, that gives the possibility of the ever-elusive Splatoon 3 to become more and more possible. New maps, new weapons, new subs, new specials, a new story about restoring order to Inkopolis. It would be great, but that'd take a lot of time to do. Even though Nintendo makes these games like really fast, like seriously, Splatoon 1 had 90% of its game made in under a year. It's definitely possible for Splatoon 3 to be a possibility sooner than we think. Let's say, in a perfect world, Nintendo started working on it the day after Nogami said they weren't, and it took like 2.5 years on it. Then by mid-2022, we could see a fresh original take on the Splatoon series, which would give the Switch a live Splatoon world until Nintendo releases a new console. So here's why I believe Splatoon 2 is going to get more content. Animal Crossing New Horizons has all its content. It's officially been through all seasons. As of March 20th, 2021, it'll have gotten every piece of content in its base game, which means only path forward is either small content updates similar in size to adding new Splatoon 2 weapons and specials, or releasing paid DLC. Both of those take a lot less manpower than making a brand new game. So what's going to happen then? You think Nintendo's just going to give them the next 3 years off while the Switch finishes its life cycle? The odds of them making a new game for the rest of the generation, when that Nintendo sector has already produced 2 of the top 10 selling Switch games, both happen to be live service games. I have a theory, and just hear me out here. What if Nintendo divides the Splatoon 2 / Animal Crossing team in half, and lets Nogami lead both teams? Both teams just continue to update Splatoon 2 and Animal Crossing New Horizons with DLC, paid DLC, and smaller content updates like weapons and specials. Like, are they gonna just go out and make a new game in the rest of the lifespan? I don't think they need to do that. Like, We don't need a Splatoon 3 if Splatoon 2 still gets updates, and we definitely don't need a new Animal Crossing yet, but more updates would always be welcome. So why go out and make a new game for either franchise when you've already got 2 games on the same system, which both do actually see regular updates, Splatoon 2 just being a lot less now. But just remember, our last Splatfest was last month, so the odds of this being done, and I mean like Splatfests being done, after what we've just seen with the past 4 is a lot just really unlikely now. We're gonna get more, it's just a matter of when. And honestly, I think it's a matter of when as to when we see update 6.0 now, just with everything going on, with both games being done and the opportunity being there. So just think about it. It sounds a lot less crazy the more you say it out loud. Anyways, that just about wraps up the video. What do you think's in store for the future of Splatoon? Update 6.0? New DLC? A new game? Let me know. I'll see you soon. Bye.